Hello and welcome to Colby Lopez Politics, my YouTube channel. In this video, I plan on discussing Governor Jim Justice's proposal to remove West Virginia's personal income tax. Personal income taxes are, of course, an unpopular thing as no one likes paying taxes. However, taxes are very important to various government programs, such as funding public education. Governor Jim Justice is, of course, proposing this as it is a popular idea. Very many times, politicians become very popular for cutting taxes. What he would be doing is completely eliminating state income tax. Currently, we have rates of 3 to 6.5% on income based on various income levels, and that provides the state with $2.5 billion per year, or about 43% of the state's general fund, which of course is a huge portion of the state's budget, going towards paying for things such as public education, as well as all of the other various programs either made to maintain government or hold government accountable or help the people through various programs as well. Without the state income tax, we would have to find other ways to fund the various programs under the state of West Virginia, many of which are currently underfunded already. Governor Justice has been mentioning how other states are able to not tax personal income. However, many of these states have high property taxes, high sales taxes, high fuel taxes, or even high toll booth fees. Of course, high property taxes would likely lead to a growth in homelessness due to a number of people no longer being able to afford their homes, or landlords being forced to raise rent prices due to the higher property taxes. Higher sales taxes would mean that various products would become more expensive, of course, for everyone, which sales taxes, of course, disproportionately affect poorer individuals who have to make various purchases there, as opposed to richer individuals who could easily pay someone else to make these purchases without having to factor in the taxes, or even purchasing out of state, or negotiating with a company otherwise to get an effective sales tax write-off. And then, of course, high fuel taxes is something that will limit the amount of traveling that a lot of individuals will be able to do, as taxes on fuel will force prices to go up. And then further limiting travel options would be toll booths collecting even more as we go through them. So while this might be marketed toward the working class as a tax cut, in the end, it will lead to further impoverishment and disproportionately affect those who are already poor or working class, as well as limiting us further in the amount of travel we can do, which could end up making it to where certain individuals are effectively taking a pay cut due to having to pay more on their commutes to work or school, even. As such, you need to really be factoring these things in. Now, another way that this is being marketed is that it will attract more people to come and live in the state of West Virginia. Which, if you think about it, while the states without personal income tax are attractive to people looking to move into a different state, that is by far not the only measure. As can be seen by the fact that New York and California are two states with some of the highest migration into the state, despite having the highest taxes out of any state. Instead, we should be addressing job opportunities, making sure that jobs are available here, and not just any jobs, good-paying, benefited jobs. I mean, while we have recently been debating unions are why those coal mining jobs were such high quality, came with so many benefits, came with such high pay. Without unions, we wouldn't have good-paying, benefited jobs. So we need good-paying, benefited union jobs here in West Virginia. Unfortunately, the coal mining jobs are going away. And so we need to be investing in a multi-industrial economy to ensure that we continue to have a viable economy that actually works for the people that live here, not just the businesses that set up here. We need to be more focused on the good-paying jobs, not a McDonald's being set up and a job or two going to a local and them being paid minimum wage. We also need to address the health epidemics here in West Virginia. We are experiencing an opioid epidemic, which we are not properly funding the correct solutions for, which is not to imprison them, but rather to provide health related services and helping them to get off the drugs through the healthcare system, while also addressing the pharmaceutical industry's place in growing the epidemic. I mean, whenever millions of pills go into a town of only a couple hundred, you can tell that it is a pharmaceutical company racket against the citizens of West Virginia. We also have an obesity epidemic that needs to be addressed through healthcare services, as West Virginia is one of the most obese states in one of the most obese countries in the world. And so we need to really figure out ways to make sure we're still eating good Southern food without our obesity epidemic. There are plenty of Southern states that, while still have high rates of obesity, have nowhere near the rate that we have. And then, of course, there are we have a higher rate of cancer here in West Virginia due to the dumping of carcinogens in our state. For instance, down in Minden, around where I live, there are cancer-causing chemicals contaminating water and soil in that area, leading to an incredibly high rate of cancer. We should be addressing that. That obviously turns people away. And then something that is adversely affected by a cut in the personal income taxes, public education funding. Instead of taking away one of the main sources of funding for our public education system, we need to fully fund our public education system. Whenever I was in high school, which was only a few years ago, we had textbooks held together by duct tape. We had textbooks with no covers on them. We had textbooks with tobacco spit in them. We had textbooks that teachers would readily point out, well, actually now scientists believe this to be truth, or actually this has been disproven, or upon further research, this is actually what happened. Like, our textbooks are also inaccurate. And so we need to fully fund the purchasing of new textbooks. We need to ensure that teachers have the necessary resources for their classrooms. We need to make sure that we just plain fully fund public education, which is what the responsibility of the state is when it comes to education. We hold no responsibility for the outcomes of private education. Private education is private companies profiting off of the education of children in ways that may or may not be as effective. While studies do show that private education is more effective than public education, the answer isn't to fund private education, taking more funds away from public education. It's making sure that we have a quality public education system. We should do what conservatives believe in, the free market, compete against the private sector of schools. Make the public schools a competitive, compelling option to those who can afford private school. We need to make sure that public education is the topmost education, not private companies profiting off of our state's children. It's ridiculous. We should fully fund public education and not give a dime to private education until 110% of public education has been funded. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. I fully understand why Governor Justice wants to do this. He's a billionaire. He's the richest man in the state. And as I've explained, this isn't going to affect him in a negative way, but it will affect us. It will affect you. It will affect me. It will affect my family. It will affect your family. It's not going to affect the Justice family. It's not going to affect the Manchin family. It's not going to affect the Capito family. It's not going to affect these rich politicians because they're rich. They're getting a tax cut. What we're getting is a tax increase that's hidden behind the elimination of an income tax elimination. If Governor Justice was serious about giving you a tax cut, he would reduce the lower brackets of income taxes to, let's say, 2%, while at the same time adding additional upper level brackets on people who are millionaires and billionaires like himself, in which the burden of payment into the income tax general fund is less on the working class and impoverished and more on the millionaires and billionaires such as Bill Cole, Jim Justice, Joe Manchin, Shelley Moore Capito, other members of the Capito family, other members of the Manchin family, other members of the Justice family, and members of the state legislature, and Carol Miller, just all of our politicians who are millionaires and billionaires stand to profit, stand to benefit from this. But if they simply reduced the lower level tax brackets while adding higher tax brackets on millionaires and billionaires, we would actually be getting a working class tax cut. But we simply aren't under a complete elimination of the income taxes. Because without raising taxes on property, sales, fuel, or raising fees paid at toll booths, we'd simply be underfunding every government program, every single one, without income taxes or other taxes to make up for it. So, if Governor Justice is going to go through with this, which it seems like he is, he's holding press conferences and everything else to try and convince you that it's a good thing for you, when in reality, it's not. In reality, he's going to be taxing you even more, not less. Just make sure to contact the legislator, and if they pass the bill, and they pass the law, pay attention when you start paying more at the pump, more at the cash register, more whenever you want to purchase a house, or more in rent, whenever your landlord calls you up and says they have to raise your rent by $50, $100, $150, who knows? Because blame Jim Justice and the people who vote for the elimination of the income tax. Whenever you have to pay double on that toll booth, blame Jim Justice and the rest of the people who vote for the elimination of the sales tax. Because they are going to be raising taxes on us in other ways. Taxes are important. And without taxes, the government simply does not function. And while there are plenty of ways to tax people, with a complete elimination of the income taxes, whether it be phased in or automatic, we will see a raise in property taxes, or raise in sales taxes, or raise in fuel taxes, and so forth, as I've said countless times now. But I guess I have to end this video at some point, so please like this video, share it with family and friends, so they understand that this is a tax increase, not a tax cut. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, making sure to hit the bell icon. Please also check out my social media, Instagram at Lopez for Change, Twitter at Lopez for Change, Snapchat at Lopez for OakHillWV, and Facebook, facebook.com/colby.lopez.12, which all should be linked in the description. Please stay safe and de-stress. I'm Colby Lopez, and I approve this message.